I'm not the kind of guy who would get addicted, I think. You know, I smoked for a while as well, but I just quit over a day when I realized I don't want to smoke anymore. I smoked, I had oh, thank you. Great. I had a little bit of a different approach to smoking. I just smoked when I was around people. I never smoked a cigarette alone. And then I was sitting in a pancake bar one day and partying in a pancake bar in Hungary. And there was a guy who made a bet with me. He said, it's impossible to quit. And I said, no, of course I can quit at any time. And he said, no, nobody can quit smoking. It's impossible. I tried so many times. And I said, well, then I quit now. And he said, I bet you cannot quit. And I won.
Well, this is an interesting starting off point for the interview then, because from what I've read here and there, is that you as a band like to make kind of bets here, along the way.
Yeah, well, we've done a lot of bets, and there are those who are okay to talk about and those who are not okay to talk about. And one of the things that I guess are okay to talk about is, you know, here is the result of a bet. It's a Van Halen tattoo. and we all have a Van Halen tattoo, every one of us, and it's not because we think Van Halen is the best band in the world. Okay, Van Halen is a good band, but not that I would tattoo it normally. But we had it was a bet, and I was actually not part of it initially. It was between Chris and Hannes, who were sitting one night and partying, and they said they were listening to Van Halen and said, Van Halen is so damn good, we should make a tattoo. And they said, yeah, let's do it. And in the morning, Hannes has a lot of tattoos, so he can tattoo anything. And he was like, you know, I need let's go and get a tattoo. And Chris was a bit like, I'm not sure, because he didn't have any other tattoos. So he was like, I'm not sure if I'm ready to take a tattoo. And Hannes was pushing Chris all the time, like, you need to do the fucking tattoo, man. And at some point, it was actually when Hannes was having a baby during the last European tour in 2017. So he was away for a few weeks, and we were like, we need to fucking surprise him. So all of us went to a tattoo place actually in Greece, and we all got this Van Halen tattoos, and then we wanted to trick him, and because he was coming back and he was pushing Chris again, like, when are you gonna get that tattoo? And Chris is like, yeah, I don't know. And then I came in and said, you guys are just talking about it, you know, at some point you need to do it, or I will do it before you. And then he was like, yeah, like you will do a Van Halen tattoo. Yeah, if I do it before you, then you have to do it. And we were discussing back and forth what happens if we make it before Hannes. And eventually, we all had one, and we were trying to trick him into something really bad. But then he saw Tommy's tattoo by mistake, and it kind of ruined the whole thing, and we never got him. But we got him to the...
So he never got one?
Well, yeah, of course he has one. But we got him into agreeing that if I get a tattoo before him, he gets Van Halen tattoo drawn by a band member. But it was a bit boring because I should have done it because I'm not that good at drawing. But actually Chris did it, and he's brilliant with everything he's doing. So first time he was doing a tattoo, I tattooed a guy once and it doesn't look that good. But Chris did the Hannes Van Halen logo, and it looks brilliant. The tattoo artist was like, you have done this for years. And he was like, nope, first. And so Hannes really has a nice looking Van Halen tattoo logo made by Chris.
Okay, that's very interesting.
it's a strange story to talk about, but yeah, we do have a lot of these, and I think they are mainly done on a friendly basis.
Well, that's the thing. Is that kind of because you've known each other for quite a while, and you kind of you spend a lot of time together? So is that kind of where those kind of fun elements come from, to keep it fresh, to keep kind of...
Yeah, and a little bit challenging, okay. You know, to make life a little bit more living on the edge a little bit. Okay, we are not gonna risk something by taking a tattoo, I guess, but you know, it's
have some stakes to kind of
yeah, exactly.
That makes sense. So in terms of challenging each other, then, if you think about all the albums that you've made, and now in particular the new one, is that something you try to do with each album as well? That you try to challenge each other to kind of, maybe you can do a guitar solo different?
We have an aim, of course, and that is to create a better album. To constantly create a better album is always the aim of the band. And it's a challenge in itself. And we know when we have succeeded if we go on tour and we play a lot of songs from the new album, and we don't do it because we push it, we do it because we see that fans are requesting it. And if fans are requesting that we do an album about only new stuff, then, or mainly new stuff, or a tour with the new stuff, then I knew we have succeeded in this case. You know, coming up to the 20 years anniversary of Sabaton now, there was people say, oh, you need to tour and play all the old stuff. And I was like, why? We're making an album, and if we have to tour with the old stuff, it means that we cannot no longer write new stuff.
Right.
I didn't like that thought or idea. So 20 years of Sabaton, I wanted it to look forward, not backward.
When you start an album, then what is the starting point, especially with the Great War now? Because you have all these, and again, it's a concept record. So when is there kind of a band meeting where you kind of try to figure out where to go next after the last album, like the previous album?
In one way, it starts a bit mechanical. Okay. Like, okay, guys, we're gonna release an album on this day. This means we need to be done by this day. Okay. This means that we start on this day. Okay, that's set. And that means that we have to have a number of songs ready by this day. So there are a few deadlines. Those I set because I'm kind of the guy who would set the boundaries and barriers, and I am the one who would control the schedule and the plans for the band. So I set those. And then it's usually me and Joachim, we sit down and we're like, we need a topic for the new album. And there are tons of topics, obviously, especially since the world has been at war for quite some time. So we don't really need to look far away to find some battles to sing about. And then we decide upon a topic. Like for this album, we did it last summer. And then we were like, okay, so we're gonna have we're gonna do an album about World War I, and we're gonna start the real songwriting maybe in September, and in November we're gonna enter the studio. So 3 months of songwriting. It works if it's intense and uninterrupted.
When you think, like you say, there's obviously a lot of history to kind of delve into, and you have done in the past. What was it this time about the Great War, the First World War, that kind of struck your interest?
Why we choose the Great War now? Okay, so we have been singing about stories from World War I before.
Sure.
And I like this period in time. It's not that well known as World War II.
Sure.
And also, it's very, in my opinion, it's very dark and very brutal and very visually scary. This makes for good, interesting stories and topics. And then, so that was one of the things we always were intrigued by World War I. But why now was coming up for the 100 years anniversary of it. This was making all the sense. We didn't plan that. I mean, It was coincidence, but a quite weird and interesting coincidence that we came up to the century anniversary of World War I when we entered the studio in November. But it was unintentional because, as I said earlier, I need to book the studio far in advance because we need to have an album out by then because of heading on tours there. So it's all, not everything by Sabaton has a plan, but most of the stuff has a long plan how it works out. And then things have to fit inside of it. Then exactly, we don't plan the songs The songs have to come what they are, and then we have to add the different topics because music comes first. Yeah.
In terms of, because you've written about war and battles, and one thing I like to read a bit of history as well, and this might sound like a silly question, but what to you is interesting about war? Is it the psychological aspect? Is it kind of the social aspect of it? What and especially with this one, like you say, it's a very dark and it was a very bloody, ugly war. So what was it that kind of the points that attracted you in this story, so to say?
There are a lot of different reasons why we are singing about battles and war. You can find all kind of emotions in there, and you can find all kind of emotions in a heavy metal song. So there, for sure, that is it connects very well. Also, war is aggressive. Heavy metal is aggressive, so you can fit it in there. Also, the stories goes from anger to heroism, and this is easy to do in heavy metal as well. But what does it interest us?
Maybe you personally.
Yeah, I mean, even before this and still today, if I watch a movie and the movie has like a title before where it says this movie is inspired by actual events, I would know immediately that I'm gonna enjoy this movie more than if it's completely fictional.
Right.
So we like to sing about something that is from the real world, and then if you think about that, there ain't gonna be so many topics that fit with heavy metal.
Sure.
So it goes quite natural.
Okay.
And it fits with an interest. You see, if I have to choose, of course, if I want to be a historian or a heavy metal guy, it's very simple. I'm a heavy metal guy. But if I can be a heavy metal guy with a history interest, then I'm okay.
And with this one, because like you said, there's so many different types of emotions going into a war or these type of things. Were there certain things that you wanted to specifically explore? Maybe, well, you have the Battle of Verdun, but then you also have, all these different types of looking at maybe a similar thing.
When we decided upon the topic World War I, we directly had a couple of things that popped up into our heads, like these are some of the topics that we definitely will sing about. Some of them, I mean, we had the Red Baron, we knew that. We had the Battle of Verdun. We knew we had also that we wanted to cover Attack of the Dead Men because it was a topic that a lot of fans sent in, and we felt it's an interesting story. And then also there was this this Christmas truce. Those were 4 topics that came up to us directly. We didn't do Christmas truce because we couldn't find a song fitting for it.
And well, it's interesting what you say, because you want you write the music first, but then the topics kind of lend themselves to certain sounds, I suppose. So when you write about heroism or something like that, do you? I'm going to phrase this differently. Does the music influence kind of what type of lyrics you write? If the song sounds very, very epic and very triumphant, do you write a song about heroism, for instance, or?
For sure. I mean, we always sit down with all the demos of the musical things, and then we try like what kind of emotions does this song bring out? What kind of topic are we looking for? So music always comes first. Not always, but most of the time comes first, and. Not very often we are writing a song based on a topic. I mean, the song Bismarck was written as to be Bismarck. And on the album, the song The End of the War to End All Wars was written and meant to be this type of song. But all the other songs on the album was just whatever song that came out. If it's a good song, we keep it and we will find a topic that will work with it. Because the important here is to have good songs. But Bismarck was singled out, written for this purpose of being the song Bismarck.
Okay, and you mentioned this idea of because the Great War was described as the war that would end all wars, which is in retrospect a very interesting.
It didn't turn out that way.
No, but so what for you is interesting about that concept and that song in particular? Because you say that one was kind of one that we knew that was going to be the topic, so to say.
The war to end all wars, obviously it's gonna fail. Obviously there ain't gonna be end to all wars, even if that is a horrible thought. We can always hope, but facts here tells that we won't be seeing the end of wars. But that song and that specific theme, we felt it needed to be there on the album to round it off. Looking back, what effect did this war had on the nations involved, on the people involved? It was a super big topic to cover in one song, and we thought initially about making it very long, but it completely changed its way after it started to being written. And the song never reverts, so it constantly evolves, taking up to the climax, where I guess it's the most epic moment in Sabaton history. And we felt after this we need something to calm down the listener. That's why In Flanders Fields are there.
Okay. That's an interesting thought as well, because is that something you're very aware of, to kind of make the dynamic of the album fit kind of what you want to do, not only on the album itself, but maybe later on live as well?
Dynamics on the album is very important for us. I don't think it's that important for a majority of listeners, because most of the people today, they just take songs and put in playlists. But for the people who like still to have the album format, this is also why we did History Edition of the album. You know, standard edition for anybody who just want a song and enjoy it. History Edition for the people who want to enjoy a full album and stories. And of course we put a lot of, for this one we put a lot of effort into the order of the songs.
Because, well, you mentioned the History Edition, and if you want your coffee, just grab it, by the way. But you mentioned the History Edition, and I listened to the History version. So is it part, and I know you've always said, well, you're a rock band first, and that the music is the most important, but is part of remembering history, is that something you want to give the listener, or to kind of show, well, these were important moments in humankind's history?
Okay, so for 15 years we sing about history. But, and there's been people who said, you teach history, you help me to get through my exams and stuff. I wouldn't say that we could have inspired perhaps, yeah, sure we could have helped to get through exams, but nobody can, I think it's difficult for anybody to say that, you know, only through Sabaton I learned history. Right. That wasn't true until February this year when we launched Sabaton History Channel, because now we can properly teach people. Before this we could just inspire, now we can properly teach people.
This is maybe too big a question for this interview, but what do you want to give the people in terms of history? Well, what do you want to kind of, and it's quite a broad question, so it might be a bit difficult to answer. But we
wanted to give the people, with the Sabaton History Channel, we wanted to give the people a little bit deeper knowledge of the background to the song, why we choose to write it. We also wanted to tell some stories, emotions from us in the band towards this. And we became a little bit of a history institution.
Okay.
And did I aim for this? No. Was this something we really wanted to be? No. Do we feel that it's a good thing to be? Yes, definitely. Do I see any negative things in teaching history? No. No. I see negative things in censoring history. I see negative things in altering history. I see negative things in the absence of history. but I can't see any negative things in teaching history. What potentially I can agree with if people say, oh, this is no good, the only ones I could agree with would be, does it take a lot of time? Yes. Time, we potentially could have written a new song, maybe. Maybe. Is it worth it? Yes.
But you're on album 9, I believe now, so there's plenty of music as well. So that's
Yeah. We got plenty of music out and plenty of episodes to cover in Sabaton History Channel.
Exactly. In terms of the music, then, because is it fair to say that Sabaton is doing quite well? America is picking it up a little bit more.
Sabaton is doing fine. I think we have established ourselves in several places now. America is the next one to really sort of be conquered. And but I think we did very well in Europe. Took some time. Now it's done. Of course, we have more things to do, but at least we have come to a good level here now. And what else? I do feel comfortable about where Sabaton is standing today. It changes some things. 10 years ago we could only tour in Sweden and a couple of other countries. Today we can play all around the world. And it's the reason why it took 3 years instead of 2 to make an album, because we have to tour longer. But I love touring, so.
When you started out, what kind of did you envision kind of what you're doing now? How did you see your life as a musician and as a band?
I was not imagining exactly, how it will be like, but I was hoping, and I was aiming at making it extremely successful. I had the vision already very early, like, what do you want to do with your life? Well, I want to play in the biggest heavy metal band in the world. That was simple answer. And if I ever will play in the biggest heavy metal band, I don't know, but at least I must believe in it, and I must work towards it. If I would work towards a goal I can achieve and that is closer to me, perhaps I will reach it, So far, everything that people have said to me that cannot be done, I have done. And there is, we have become the headliners of some of the biggest festivals in the world. We have played huge arenas. We've realized so many things in our lives. So if somebody gives me a challenge, I'm okay with it. And the challenge to, when people said there is 0% chance you will succeed in America, challenge accepted. And in a little while from now on, we will be able to clearly declare that the entire tour is sold out and every show was too small for what we are. And basically every single promoter on that tour was wrong. And that's proving some people wrong.
It's interesting, kind of to round off the interview then, but now we come full circle with what we started. You challenge each other with certain bets and you challenge each other in music, but then, because I was going to ask as a final question, where does the drive come? Why is it so important? But is it kind of that challenge that people say you can't do something? And
nobody really needs to challenge me. I can challenge myself.
Right.
I can find a challenge in what I want to achieve myself. And so I don't need to do that. Nobody ever told me when I was a kid that, because it's kind of the opposite. You live in Sweden and you're in a football game and everything that you are taught is that the importance is not to win, the importance is to play, which is also kind of the motto of the Olympic Games. The importance is not to win, the importance is just to be there. But I don't think that was my intention. For me, the importance was to win.
On that note, Pär, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.